Now let's talk about Hino Truck's data link connector location. For your information, if you select user guide icon in the main page or select guide button which appears during the selection at the bottom, you can see general DLC location for Hino vehicles. Let's look at DLC location for this 2007 Hino Profia model. Please note that this connector location might not be the same for other Hino models. DLC could be in different location. You can look up Hino service manual for connector location or refer to user guide in G Scan. If you still cannot find the location, you can ask us at Tech Q&A page of our G Scan website. We have found the DLC location. Now we need special adapters in order to communicate with Hino commercial truck. This adapter is specially designed for Hino commercial truck. It's got 12 pin and 5 pin in one adapter. This adapter does not come with standard kit, so please contact your local dealer if you would like to have one. We found the location of DLC and we have the special adapter for Hino in hand. However, this 2007 Hino Profia model uses only 16-pin connector. So let's connect G Scan. Select diagnosis in the main page. Well, you can see a bunch of different car brands. If you look at left, you can see 5 categories, all regions. You can see all brands in one page. Europe for European brands, and Asia for Asian brands, and United States for US brands. If you hit the alphabet at the bottom left corner, brands will be organized in alphabetical order. If you select cell order, brands will be organized in order which shows recently used brands. Since we are focusing on Hino commercial trucks, let's select Asia. When you select Hino, you can see International at the top and other different model names. If you know the model name of your truck, you can select the model and select the model code and engine type and model year. And lastly, you can choose system you want to diagnose. Now let's look at international menu. Let's go back. Select international. Previously, we had only different models listed in the first screen when you select Hino. However, we found out that some users whom are not familiar with model names could not select the vehicle types in the first place. So we developed this international menu and reorganized the path in selection. Let's see how international menu is different. Simply hit all models and all type. You can choose different types of connectors which your vehicles need in order for communication. Look at the number of pins of your vehicle's data link connector, and you can use the connector and select accordingly. Well, you can just use your OBD2 connector for 16-pin connector. If you want to diagnose certain system, you can directly select system and start to communicate. However, if you want to scan possible supported functions for each system, you can select System Search at the top. And by selecting System Search, G Scan communicates with the engine ECU and displays all possible special functions and presents diagnostic trouble codes. Let's select System Search. It might take a couple minutes while G Scan is communicating with all systems. If you see this star sign, it means advanced function is supported, and you can check by selecting it. And you can hit Start List. As you can see, these are supported special functions. When you select Start, you can access to the desired system. Let's go back to connector selection. If your vehicle has 12-pin connector, you need to use 12-pin adapter. If it's 5-pin connector, you need to use 5-pin adapter. Please note that trucks with 12 or 5-pin connector, you can only see DTC Analysis, since those models are OBD1 and they don't support any special functions. Let's look at 12-pin connector. You can see two selections. If you have 12-pin adapter, select Use the 12-pin connector. Select engine type. And you can see DTC Analysis. If you click it, you'll see the message. It says starting DTC analysis. Find out DTC code by taking how many times the warning lamp is lit and refer to the diagnosis code list. Hit OK. If you look at the bottom, you can see code table, erasing tip, and reading tip. If you select code table, it shows the list of DTCs. If you select erasing tip, it will show you how to erase DTC stored in the ECU. If you select reading tip, it will show you the message that it will guide you to read the code manually from the vehicle. If you have 4-pin connector, also known as the universal connector, choose Use the universal connector and select engine type and hit OK. Then connection guide will be shown. Hit OK. And you can see the DTC analysis. Select it. And you will see the message. And you can check the DTC. You can also see 3 menus at the bottom: code table, erasing tip, and reading tip. Let's look at 5-pin connector. Select 5-pin connector. You can also see 2 selections. Choose Use the 5-pin connector if you have 5-pin adapter. Select engine type. And you can see the DTC analysis. Select it. When you select it, you will see the message. Hit OK. And you can check the DTC. You can also see 3 menus at the bottom: code table, erasing tip, and reading tip. And let's go back to the 5-pin connector screen. And you have to use the universal connector if you have 4-pin. Let's select it. And you can select the engine type. And connection guide will be shown. Hit OK. And you can see the DTC analysis. Hit and the message will be shown. If you select it, you can check the DTC. You can see 3 menus at the bottom: code table, erasing tip, and reading tip. Now let's talk about some basic diagnosis technique using G Scan. When you notice that your vehicle seems abnormal and suddenly malfunction indicator lamp comes on, what would you do? Of course, you would try to find out why the mill came on. First, you need to figure out which system is malfunctioning by reading the diagnostic trouble code. In order to read the DTC, you need to search for data link connector location and connect G Scan. When you're set, you can go to DTC Analysis and then read the DTC. Now let's see if this 2007 Hino Profia model has any DTC. Select DTC Analysis. Well, this truck has 3 DTCs, which are all sensors related. Now the DTC has been noticed. Would you believe that the DTC related part is defective and repair or replace the parts right away? I guess not. You can do some preliminary checks before you get into actions. First, you need to distinguish the DTCs between sensor related and actuator related. If the DTC is sensor related, go to Data Analysis menu and search for malfunctioning parts. Without physical inspection of removing or getting into the parts, you can check the condition of the sensors or compare the value and make a judgment. Let's go to Data Analysis and check its condition. Select Data Analysis. And you can see a bunch of different live data. If you select Details, data will be organized in a detailed view. Select Accelerator sensor number 1 and number 2 opening. And hit Select Item. And select Graph if you want to see the data in graph mode. Now I'm going to press the accelerator pedal to check its operation. By looking at the graph, condition of the accelerator sensor turns out to be normal. If the DTC is actuator related, go to Actuation Test function. Depending on engine types, number of supported actuation tests is different. Check if it's supported and you can try to test the defective parts for its operation. G Scan will command the ECU to actuate selected parts. During the test, you can actually hear the sound or visually check the movement of the parts. Let me show you an example. Let's go to the actuation test and see what actuation tests this 2007 Hino Profia model supports. You can see all different actuation tests. You can check common rail pressures, you can check injectors, and you can check turbo opening or fuel leak check and EGR opening. If you want to check suspect parts for its operation, for example, EGR system, you can perform EGR opening actuation test to check its operation. By using actuation test function, you do not have to remove the parts or manually test the defective parts to check its operation. Now when you're done with preliminary checks and still the problem exists, you might do some extra visual inspection. After all checks and defective part is confirmed, you would make a decision, replacing or fixing. From mid-2000s, almost all vehicles are equipped with a bunch of electronics, such as computer modules, solenoids, and sensors. For the purpose of achieving advanced comfort or outstanding performance,
engine computer units started to save or learn data from the operator's driving habits. Inevitably, the importance of computer control has been increasing. Whenever you perform repairs on most recent systems, even simple replacement of sensors, you must use a scan tool to reset or erase learned data in ECU. Other than erasing and learning function, there's calibration, initialization, reset, and coding functions. One out of many different examples would be injectors. When you replace injectors, you have to code or write specific injector's ID code into ECU for correct fuel quantity adjustment. Let me summarize some key points. Do not just assume the component related to DTC is defective, because there might be other problems which cause the ECU to trigger the DTC. When DTC is sensor related, go to the data analysis and check suspect parts data. When DTC is actuator related, perform actuation test and check suspect part for its operation. When you diagnose commercial trucks using useful functions of G Scan, I'm sure you will save a lot of time.
Let me show you some special functions using G Scan. Injector ID code registration. This function is used after an injector or ECU is replaced. There's a precaution. You have to proceed only when ignition is on and while the engine is off. Check the vehicle condition. When you're ready, hit OK. Each injector has its own specific code. The code includes the fuel injection adjustment or correction information. ECU needs this specific data for precise fuel control. If you register incorrect injector code into the engine ECU, the engine may rattle or engine idling may become rough. Moreover, engine failure may occur, shortening the engine life. You can select individual cylinder injectors. And you can input the code on the injector. The amount of the character should be 30. When you're ready, you can hit OK, and then it's finished. DPR Status Check. This function will monitor DPR, diesel particulate reduction system status. If the status of the below DPR status is all off, press OK button to check the DPR status of next page. If one of the below DPR status or next DPR status is on, you need to clean or inspect the DPR system. Execute the DPR manual regeneration after DPR status reset. As you can see, everything is off. Let's select next. And as you can see, other three things are all off, which means DPR system is completely normal. DPR Status Reset. This function will execute DPR Status Reset. After replacing or recycling DPR system, this function needs to be performed. To execute the DPR Status Reset, you need to inspect or check before you perform this function. And you have to switch on the starter key and turn off the engine. When you're ready, select OK. And it's asking, do you want to execute DPR Status Reset? Yes, so click OK. And DPR Status Reset is completed. DPR Forced Regeneration. This function is used when you want to burn down particulate matter captured in the DPR system. Execute DPR regeneration by force when the DPR manual regeneration is not indicated. There are preconditions. You can look carefully, and there are also cautions. And you can also read carefully. When you're done, select OK. And if you press DPR manual regeneration switch in the cabin, DPR manual regeneration will restart it. Now it's regenerating. Wait for a moment, and if you want to stop the DPR manual regeneration, press the cancel button. And you can see the catalyst manual regeneration status and exhaust temperature sensors. When you're done, press cancel. Stopping the DPR manual regeneration, hit OK. DPR Differential Pressure Check. This function will execute the DPR Differential Pressure Check. The engine revolution speed will rise to the non-loaded maximum speed once you press OK button. If the DPR differential pressure exceeds the standard value, carry out either one of manual regeneration, DPR cleaning, or replacement of the DPR. It's asking, do you want to execute the DPR differential pressure check? Let's select OK. You can see these are the standard values. This Profia model has the E13C engine, and it's a cargo type. So the standard value is 7.5 kilopascal. If the differential pressure exceeds the standard value, you have to perform manual regeneration, DPR cleaning, or replacement of the DPR system. Let's select Start. As you can see, the DPR differential pressure value does not exceed the standard value, so the system is completely normal. Let's select Stop. VNT Check. This function will execute variable nozzle of VNT, variable nozzle turbocharger, check. First, you have to shift the gear into the neutral and set the parking brake. And second, you have to switch on the starter key and turn off the engine. The operation sound of motor type is small and operation check is difficult by the sound, so you have to pay the attention. By pressing the start button, you can activate the VNT solenoid valve. And when you press down or up button, VNT standard can be changed. Fuel leak check. This function will execute the fuel leak check. First, you have to shift the gear into neutral and set the parking brake, and turn off the PTO, and start the engine and warm up coolant temperature to 60 degrees Celsius or more. And idle engine and turn off the warm-up switch. Select OK. If you press start button, the engine revolution goes up to 1500 RPM, and common rail pressure also goes up to the target common rail pressure.
Then both goes down normal value and tilt up the engine hood and check the fuel leakage point. If you want to interrupt the check, press stop button. Check turbocharger. Well, this function will execute the check turbocharger. First, you have to shift the gear into the neutral and set the parking brake. And turn off the PTO and start the engine and warm up the coolant temperature to 60 degrees Celsius or more. And you have to let the idle engine and turn off the warm-up switch. It's okay. If you press start button, the engine revolution goes up to maximum. After engine revolution is steady, it is normal condition that turbocharger speed is more than 3,000 to 4,000 RPM. Let's start. If you press stop button, the value is hold and the engine revolution return to idle. And keep the value at the time. And if you press the release button, the value holding is cancelled. And you're done. EGR check. This function will execute the exhaust gas recirculation check. First, you have to shift the gear into the neutral and set the parking brake. Second, you have to switch on the starter key and turn off the engine. If you press start button at the bottom, EGR down or up can be executed. If you press initial valve 1 button at the bottom, the initialization of learning value 1 of EGR valve full closing position will be executed. Let's select start. If you press down or up button at the bottom, the directed EGR position changes from 0% to 100% by 10% step. Confirm actual EGR position is followed directed EGR position. An error of less than 5% is allowable. Let's move the EGR valve. Since the difference is less than 5%, the EGR seems normal. And when you're done, select stop. Suction air volume check. This function is used when you want to check the suction air volume. There are some precautions and cautions, so you have to read carefully. When you're ready, hit OK. And while you're pressing the accelerator pedal, if you press keep button, the present value will be hold. And if you press release button, the present value will be cancelled. And you're done. Drive accelerator sensor adjust.
This function will execute the check and adjustment of the drive accelerator sensor and PTO accelerator sensor. When you replace both sensors, make an adjustment of them, and when you replace one sensor, adjust it accordingly. You have to switch on the starter key and turn off the engine. The accelerator sensor replacement is necessary when the value is not within the standard value. If you want to keep the present value, you can press Keep button at the bottom. And the standard value in idling position will be 0.7 to 1.0 volts. In full position, it will be 3.55 to 4.4 volts. Press the accelerator pedal and you will see the value will be changing. If this value does not meet the standard value, you can read the caution carefully and perform accordingly. If you want to check the PTO accelerator sensor, press Work Adjust button. And there is standard value in idling position and also in full position. Perform the check as same as the accelerator sensor. When you're done, you can press Cancel. Maximum cruise control speed setting. This function will execute the maximum cruise control speed setting within the applicable range. Well, the lower limit is different each vehicle type. Heavy duty is 35 kilometers per hour and medium duty truck is the same. And in North American market, medium duty truck is 50 kilometers per hour. It becomes invalid even if it sets to this or less. Let's select OK. If you press down or up button, the maximum speed will be changed. If you press change button, then that maximum speed will be set up. Let's press down to change the value. And when you want to set it up, you can press change. Then the initial value will be changed. When you're done, you can press cancel. Maximum vehicle speed setting. This function will execute the maximum vehicle speed setting within the applicable range. The lower limit is different each vehicle type. Heavy duty is 35 kilometers per hour and medium duty is 50 kilometers per hour. And medium duty in North American market, it's 40 kilometers per hour. It becomes invalid even if it sets to this or less. Let's select OK. If you press down or up button, the maximum speed will be changed. If you press change button, that maximum speed will be set up. Let's press down to change the value. And when you want to set up this value, you can select change. Then the initial value will be changed. When you're done, you can press cancel.